One winter day near Christmas time, I was meditating early in the morning when, suddenly, I felt as if something opened in my brain, as if a new opening had been created. I felt an energy rising up my spinal cord. I managed to keep my attention on the crown of my head while the energy rose higher and higher up the spinal cord, passing through the neck and then entering the brain. Suddenly, I was met with a flow of silver light pouring into my brain. There was a sound like thunder or a waterfall in my ears, and the noise grew louder and louder. At the same time, I began to expand. I can't exactly describe what I mean by this, but it seemed like my consciousness now encompassed an increasingly vast space. I felt like I was leaving my body behind and projecting, extending throughout the universe. My body became more and more faint, and I could barely hear the street noises. I was completely absorbed in the vision unfolding before me. It was a vision of silver brilliance, alive and vibrant, conscious and extending around me. The small I that I was became a point of consciousness, observing this great personality that had developed, this great intelligence that seemed to encompass the entire universe. I felt like a small cork floating on an ocean, yet aware of the entire surface of the ocean. I felt myself expanding, and this expansion was accompanied by an indescribable happiness. I found myself in a state of jubilation, happiness, and ecstasy like I had never experienced before. It was an incredible sight, and I was completely bewildered by what was happening to me. This is the account of the first sudden awakening of Kundalini energy experienced by Gopi Krishna at the age of 34. Gopi Krishna was an Indian yogi, mystic, teacher, social reformer, and writer. He was one of the first to popularize the concept of Kundalini among Western readers. He also founded the Kundalini Foundation in Jammu, India, which provides a scientific basis for the practice of Kundalini. According to him, he had a few similar experiences later on and a subsequent period of personal instability in the following years. Finally, at the age of 49, he managed to make that heightened state of consciousness permanent. In the following minutes, we will explore the mystical connection between the pineal gland and the spiritual awakening experienced by ancient masters and enlightened beings. We will see how, in addition to ancient philosophies like Hinduism, biblical teachings may also contain hidden keys and symbols that reflect the process of Kundalini energy ascension and the connection with our divine essence. At the end of the video, I will discuss some practices and techniques to enhance and activate this transformative process, aiming to reach higher levels of consciousness and advance on your path to spiritual awakening. In an ancient Hindu text, the Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, "Within the city of Brahman, which is the body, there is a small sanctuary in the shape of a lotus, and within it there is a small space. This you should seek. That indeed is what one should desire to understand." This region can be activated through certain disciplines, and when activated, it can give the individual the same vision of the universe that all the great mystics of the earth have described. According to Gopi Krishna's own words, "In this perception, the world is not seen as a solid, real, and objective creation. The true objective creation is consciousness. Consciousness is seen everywhere. The ocean is seen as if it were alive. A mountain is seen as if it were alive. The sky is seen as if it were alive. Life or consciousness is seen everywhere. And this life or consciousness is not something that can really be understood. It is unfathomable. It is a wonder. And every time it is seen, perceived, the wonder deepens. In other words, within you, a source of happiness opens up. A new realm unfolds right before you, everywhere. This is probably what Christ meant when he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you." This is Buddha's nirvana, this is the Brahman of the Upanishads, and this is the state of Vedat mentioned by the Sufi mystics. Indeed, in this state of unity, what we perceive is consciousness in its majestic form, in its glorious form. Not consciousness as a point looking through the eyes or listening through the ears, but a consciousness that has its own channels and knows it is the master and not the slave of material forces, that knows it is the creator, that is infinite, that is immortal. Like Gopi Krishna, different sages from various traditions, religions, and regions have recounted similar deeply transformative experiences. These mystical experiences had a tremendous impact on their lives. It is no wonder that, after these supernatural experiences beyond all ordinary comprehension, they founded movements, wrote books, went out to preach, and even started religions. Many such cases exist, especially in eastern regions like India and Tibet, but also in the Western world. Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, and Jesus Christ himself are notable examples. Imagine you have one of these transcendental experiences, where you experience a deep connection with the universe, or powerful visions accompanied by profound revelations present themselves to you as they did to these great masters. Wouldn't you run to tell everyone? Wouldn't you want all your loved ones to attain that wisdom and have that experience? Due to the influences of the places where these people lived, they described their experiences in various ways. Many used allegories of what they knew or parables influenced by the context of their time and place. In many cases, like in the time when the Bible was written, saying certain things, like that one should not seek any external God but within oneself, could be considered heresy, punishable even by death. It is no wonder, then, that parables, allegories, and cryptic language were used so that this knowledge could endure over time and those who were ready could integrate and apply it. It doesn't take much investigation to notice that many of these experiences, recounted in vastly different regions and times, share similar ingredients and certain common threads. Many of them mention an inner power that each of us possesses, a power that, when activated, provides us with deep wisdom and understanding of the universe and ourselves, revealing our divine nature and causing a transformative impact on our lives. We are much more than a body of flesh and bone, the result of chance and evolution, navigating a ball floating through a randomly created universe. Our bodies, and what we perceive as ourself, are not the cause of our consciousness. Rather, they are the result. We are a projection of the mind of the All, a manifest portion of the Divine Spirit, or, as it is said in the Kabbalion, a mental projection of the All. Our bodies are what we see with our eyes, what we perceive with our physical senses, but this is only the densest portion that materializes in this physical plane of existence. Above this body, it is said we have several more subtle bodies, which, vibrating at other frequencies outside the range of frequencies perceptible by our senses, remain beyond the perception of our material body. In our day-to-day lives and in the present age, we are very disconnected from our true essence, living solely aware of the material plane. But within our organism, there is a hidden mechanism that allows us to transcend the limitations of this plane and connect directly with our true essence, with our spirit, with the divine. Coiled at the base of the spine lies an energy that, when it ascends unimpeded through our energy centers and reaches the center of our brain, breaks the barriers and limitations of our bodies. It is said that when this happens, we see a light more powerful than 1,000 suns. Our consciousness and perception, by breaking these barriers, manage to transcend the confines of space and time, of the mind itself and the ego. In the ancient Hindu culture, This mechanism has been extensively studied through the science of yoga. This energy, known as Kundalini, is said to reside at the base of the spine. As it rises and reaches the Ajna chakra, or pineal gland, it transcends the limitations of the mind and connects with the divine. Various practices and techniques exist to elevate this energy, which we will discuss later. Sometimes it can activate spontaneously or through focused consciousness. As mentioned earlier, we find references to this ascending, illuminating energy not only in Hindu culture, but also in the Bible. Bill Donahue, a prominent figure in the field of metaphysical and spiritual interpretations of religious texts, suggests that many biblical stories are allegorical rather than literal. His unique approach to interpreting biblical texts connects the Bible with the human pineal gland and the Vedic concept of chakras. His interpretations weave together spirituality and modern esoteric philosophy, merging ancient wisdom with contemporary ideas about human consciousness. We will now explore the hidden symbolism in the Bible, according to Donahue's interpretations, the scientific and spiritual significance of the pineal gland, and how these elements relate to the Vedic understanding of chakras. The pineal gland, a small pine cone-shaped organ located in the center of our brain, has been revered across cultures and ages. In Hindu philosophy, it is linked with the third eye and the Ajna chakra. In ancient Egyptian tradition, with the Eye of Horus. This enigmatic gland is also known for producing DMT, the most potent hallucinogenic substance known to man. It governs our sleep-wake patterns by secreting melatonin, among other compounds. But beyond its biological role, the pineal gland is shrouded in mysticism. Donahue argues that the Bible contains several references to the pineal gland and its connection to spiritual awakening or enlightenment. In Genesis 32:30, Jacob says, "I have seen God face to face, and I will call this place Pineal." Here, Pineal directly connects to the pineal gland, the third eye, the seat of the soul. When activated, this gland illuminates the body with wisdom and spiritual light. As Jesus mentioned in Matthew 6:22, "The lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is clear, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is evil, your whole body will be full of darkness." Here we see a reference to a single eye, an eye that illuminates, which is precisely what happens when the pineal gland is activated. Revelation 5:1 says, "I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a book written inside and out, sealed with 7 seals." This book is a metaphor for the internal secrets of the mind and soul, accessible through deep meditation and the awakening of the chakras. The right hand represents the right hemisphere of the brain, and the throne symbolizes higher consciousness or God. The activation of the pineal gland is linked to the 7 chakras, the energy centers that ascend the spine. In the book of Revelation, these chakras are represented as the 7 seals. Thus, the challenge is that, through meditation, one would ascend through these 7 chakras, overcoming the 7 steps or nerve centers, the 7 seals mentioned in Revelation, until reaching the pineal gland of the brain to sit on the throne. This practice would illuminate the right hemisphere, also known as the eastern sky. The right hemisphere can refer to entering a state of no mind, where we set aside the analytical mind and give way to creativity, which is led by this hemisphere. By activating the right hemisphere, we free ourselves from identification with the self and situate ourselves in the present moment. This is essential for entering deep states of meditation and for the activation of the pineal gland that connects us with the totality. We can also observe this in the crucifixion of Christ. From an astronomical perspective, the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ are reflected in the cycle of the sun. On December 21st, during the winter solstice, the sun reaches its lowest point, symbolizing the death of Christ. For 3 days, from December 21 to 24, the sun remains in the same place, which is associated with the tomb of Christ. On December 25th, the sun begins to ascend again, marking its resurrection and the return of light. This rising of the sun, moving towards the constellation of Aries and then sitting in the northern sky, symbolizes the right hemisphere of the brain. As the sun advances towards Aries and the spring equinox, which occurs between March 20th and 23rd, spring and summer are welcomed, representing renewed life and victory over darkness. The connection between the sun's cycle and the Christian narrative of the crucifixion and resurrection reflects the process of death and rebirth of the sun, as well as the arrival of light and new life. This cosmic cycle acts as a mirror of the microcosm, illustrating the principle of the Kybalion. As above, so below. Thus, the death and resurrection of the sun and Jesus can be seen as a metaphor for the internal ascension of our Kundalini energy towards the pineal gland. This process guides us to transcend the material realm and reach spiritual heaven. To achieve this, it is necessary to experience a death of the ego, detaching from our bodily and personal identity. After this transformation, we are reborn as a renewed being, wiser and aware of our true nature, not just intellectually, but with the experiential certainty of our experience. The symbolism of 7 appears repeatedly throughout the Bible. For example, in Joshua 6:1-5, "Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the Israelites. No one went out, and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, 'See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have all the people give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the people will go up, every man straight in.'" This is likely a mystical allegory. The wall of Jericho represents the barriers that prevent your freedom and access to your higher mind. By marching around the wall 7 times, as in ascending the 7 seals or chakras, the wall collapses and you gain access to the temple, to heaven. This process of circling the wall 7 times reflects what the Kundalini energy does as it ascends, unwinding from your first chakra and rising in a helix form through your spine. So, how can we make this wall fall? How can we access the temple and achieve this connection with the divine, with our true essence? As the Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians 6:19, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own." We are not our own when we identify with the ego, with our automatic thought patterns, with our mind. When Jesus expelled the merchants from the temple, he symbolized the need to clear the mind of compulsive, chaotic, and harmful thoughts. Therefore, to ascend the Kundalini energy to our 6th Ajna chakra and activate our pineal gland, we must keep our mind as free of thoughts and calm as possible. This is achieved through meditation, but also in our daily life. It is useless to meditate for an hour if we lead a life of excess, constantly feeding our senses with stimuli and impressions through television, social media, or chaotic and negative news. This will make it difficult to enter a deep state of relaxation, vital for reaching elevated states of consciousness during meditation. The same goes for diet and lifestyle. The healthier the food we consume and the more moderate our diet, without excesses, the greater the harmony in our body. For this reason, various cultures promote leading a righteous life, not only for morality or fear of divine judgment, but because a healthier life, both physically and mentally, calms our mind. With fewer impulsive and repetitive thoughts, our consciousness calms down, which translates into mental calm and peace. Additionally, this reduces blockages in our energy body, allowing the Kundalini energy to ascend more easily through the chakras. When we sit to meditate and achieve a calm mind, free of intrusive thoughts, our brainwave patterns decrease. Practicing meditation in a low-light environment and reducing our brainwaves to levels similar to those we have when sleeping, but remaining conscious, allows the pineal gland to start secreting the substances it produces during sleep. As a result, we are likely to begin having more vivid visions and mystical experiences. It is also very important not to waste our sexual fluids recklessly. The importance of sexual energy in the process of Kundalini activation and mystical and transcendental states has always been mentioned. It makes perfect sense. Sexual energy is the most powerful energy we have, the creative energy of life, the seed. Finally, there are various practices that can help and enhance the ascension of this energy. Some of these are specific yoga positions, known as asanas, and breathing techniques or pranayamas. I will leave links in the description to other videos I have made with some meditation techniques and pranayamas on this topic. Another powerful tool is the use of bandhas. In Hindu philosophy, especially in the context of yoga and spiritual practices, bandhas are techniques for controlling and activating body energy. The word bandha in Sanskrit means lock or seal. These techniques involve contracting certain muscles and areas of the body to direct the flow of prana, vital energy, and control breathing, thereby increasing concentration and the effectiveness of the practice. There are three main bandhas. Mula bandha, root lock. Activated by contracting the perineum muscles, the area between the anus and genitals. It is used to direct energy upwards from the base of the spine. Uddiyana bandha, abdominal lock. Performed by contracting and lifting the abdominal muscles towards the diaphragm. It helps activate the digestive fire and elevate energy to the upper chakras. Jalandhara bandha, throat lock. Performed by tilting the chin towards the chest and contracting the throat. It is used to redirect the flow of prana to the brain and upper chakras. When all three bandhas are applied simultaneously, it is called Mahabandha, the Great Lock. These practices are essential in various forms of yoga, such as Hatha Yoga and Kundalini Yoga. The bandhas help purify the body, balance energy, and facilitate spiritual awakening and the ascension of the Kundalini energy. That's all for today. Thank you very much for staying until the end, and I hope this information has been useful and enriching. See you on the next video.